They told me I was being dramatic when I asked them to turn down the music. "It's just content, Aunt Maggie," Amber said, laughing while she adjusted her ring light in my dining room. "You don't understand how this works." But I understood perfectly well when the sheriff knocked on my door 3 days later with a warrant. Not for them, for me. The notification hit my phone at 4:47 inches the morning. Not a text, not a call, a credit alert. Someone had just charged $3,200 at a boutique in Miami. I was in my bed in Cleveland, wearing the same flannel nightgown I'd owned for 15 years, staring at my phone screen like it might explain itself. I sat up slowly. My knees protested. They always did first thing in the morning, a reminder that I was 67, not 27, no matter how much I sometimes forgot that in my own head. I read the message again. Miami, women's clothing, express shipping. I hadn't been to Miami in 40 years, not since Robert and I honeymooned there, when the beach was quieter and we were younger, and the idea of spending money on anything felt reckless and wonderful. I called the credit card company, waited through the automated menu, pressed 0 4 times until a human voice finally answered. "This is Margaret Chen," I said, keeping my voice steady even though my hands were shaking. "I need to report fraud." The woman on the other end, young, efficient, asked me to verify my information: date of birth, social security number, last 4 digits of the card. Then she pulled up the transaction. "Ma'am, I'm showing this card was activated 2 months ago. Is that correct?" I paused. I didn't activate any new card. Silence on her end, keys clicking. The activation was done online using your account credentials. The billing address matches your address on file. The shipping address for this purchase is also your home address. My home address. I looked toward the hallway. The bedroom door at the end was still closed. Amber's room, or rather, my guest room that Amber had been living in for the past 4 months. "Can you tell me?" I said slowly. "What other charges are on this card?" More clicking. "Looks like quite a few, ma'am. Total balance is currently $18,400. The number hit me like cold water. I didn't speak. "Ma'am, are you still there?" "Yes," I managed. "I need to freeze this card, and I need to see a full statement." After I hung up, I sat very still in the dark. I could hear sounds from downstairs. Music, muffled but persistent. Laughter, male voices. At 5 in the morning, I put on my robe and slippers and went downstairs. The living room looked like a movie set, or maybe a crime scene. 3 ring lights set up in a triangle formation. Camera equipment on tripods. My coffee table pushed against the wall. My grandmother's rug, the Persian one Robert bought me for our 25th anniversary, bunched up in the corner with what looked like a beer stain spreading across the corner. Amber was in the center of it all, posing in a dress I'd never seen before. Red, tight, expensive looking. The tag was still hanging from the back. A young man I didn't recognize held a camera, telling her to turn, tilt her chin, smile bigger. Another man, this one I did recognize, lounged on my couch eating cereal from my good china bowl. Chase, Amber's boyfriend. He'd moved in 3 weeks ago without asking. Just showed up one night with a duffel bag and a laptop and made himself comfortable. "What is this?" I asked. Amber turned, startled, then smiled. That bright, practiced smile she used in all her videos. "Aunt Maggie, you're up early. We're just doing a quick shoot. I got this amazing partnership with a boutique and needed to film some content. We'll be done in like an hour." It's 5 in the morning. I know, but the lighting is perfect right now. Natural sunrise vibes. She gestured to the windows where the blackout curtains had been pulled down. My regular curtains now bunched on the floor. I looked at the dress again. Red, expensive. Miami boutique. "Where did you get that dress?" "Oh, this?" She smoothed the fabric. "It's from the partnership. They send me stuff to promote. They charged my credit card $3,200 for it." The room went very quiet. The camera guy lowered his equipment. Chase stopped chewing. Amber's smile flickered. What? No, that's not. I used my card. You used a card with my name on it that I didn't activate, along with $18,000 worth of other charges. She laughed. Not the fake influencer laugh. A nervous, sharp sound. Aunt Maggie, there must be some mistake. I would never. I just got off the phone with the credit card company. Everything was shipped here, to my address. I stepped closer. Take off the dress. What? The tag is still on it. Take it off and give it to me. The camera guy started packing up his equipment. Chase set down the cereal bowl and stood. Amber's face changed. The smile disappeared entirely. You're being really dramatic right now. Take off the dress, Amber. I can't. I'm in the middle of filming. Then film yourself explaining to your followers how you committed credit card fraud. Chase moved toward me. Not threatening, but his presence was meant to intimidate. He was 26, tall, built like someone who spent too much time at the gym. Maybe you should calm down, Margaret. Amber can explain everything. I'd been called Margaret exactly 3 times in my life by people I actually knew. Once by a judge when I testified in a traffic court case. Once by a doctor delivering bad news about Robert's heart. And now by this boy who'd been eating my food and sleeping in my house and apparently helping my niece steal from me. Get out, I said. He blinked. What? Get out of my house. Now. Amber stepped between us. Aunt Maggie, please. You don't understand. I was going to pay you back. The influencer thing. It's an investment. You have to spend money to make money. I needed the wardrobe, the equipment. I was building my brand. With my money. I was going to tell you. I just needed to get to 10,000 followers first, then the sponsorships start rolling in, and I would have paid back every penny. I looked at her. Really looked at her. She was wearing makeup even at 5 in the morning. Her hair was perfect. Her nails were done. $200 athleisure set that I now realized I'd probably paid for. And her eyes, underneath all of that, were desperate and angry and completely unapologetic. I want you out by tonight, I said. You can't be serious. I'm calling the police at 8 a.m. You have until then to remove everything that belongs to you. If it was purchased with my money, it stays. Aunt Maggie, do not call me that. My voice came out harder than I'd ever heard it. You don't get to call me that while you're standing in my living room wearing stolen clothes. I turned and walked back upstairs. My hands were shaking so badly I had to hold the railing. Behind me, I heard Chase say something low and angry. Heard Amber start to cry. Heard equipment being packed up too quickly, things knocking together. I locked my bedroom door, sat on the bed, looked at my phone. The credit card statement was loading. Page after page of charges. Restaurants I'd never been to, hotels, clothing stores, a payment to something called Influencer Growth Academy, Ubers, DoorDash, Sephora, more boutiques, a charge for camera equipment that cost more than my car. 4 months. She'd been doing this for 4 months, since the week she moved in. I set the phone down and started laughing. Not because it was funny, because if I didn't laugh, I'd cry, and I'd spent enough years crying. My sister Karen had called me 4 months ago, voice tight with that particular kind of panic only mothers have. Amber broke up with that guy she was seeing. She's devastated. She needs somewhere to stay for a few weeks, until she gets back on her feet. You have that big house. You're alone. I thought maybe I'd said yes before she finished the sentence. Because that's what you do. That's what I did. When Karen needed help with the down payment on her first house, I helped. When she couldn't afford Amber's college tuition, I helped. When Amber graduated and couldn't find a job and needed a car, I helped. I'd been helping my whole life. Helping Robert's mother when she got sick. Helping Karen's kids. Helping the church fundraiser. Helping the neighbor who couldn't get her groceries. Helping anyone who asked, and many who didn't. And now I was done. At 8 a.m. exactly, I called the police non-emergency line. The officer who answered sounded bored until I mentioned credit card fraud. Then his tone changed. He took my information, asked if the suspect was still on the premises, asked if I felt unsafe. No, I said. I feel clear. 2 officers arrived at 9:30. By then, Amber and Chase had packed 3 suitcases and loaded them into Chase's beat-up Honda, but they were still here, waiting in the driveway, probably hoping I'd change my mind. I met the officers at the door. They were both young. One of them, Officer Martinez, looked like he couldn't be more than 25. The other, Officer Patterson, was older, maybe 40, with the kind of face that had seen too much and stopped being surprised by anything. "Ma'am, you reported credit card fraud." I showed them the statement, showed them the dress, which Amber had thrown on the couch before leaving, tag still attached, showed them the activation confirmation email that I'd found in my trash folder, sent from my email address but from an IP address that wasn't my home computer. Patterson's expression darkened. "Do you know who did this?" "My niece. She's outside right now. They went out to talk to her." I watched from the window, saw Amber's face go from defiant to scared to crying, saw Chase try to pull her into the car, saw Patterson put a hand up, telling him to stay put. They came back inside with Amber between them. She wasn't in handcuffs, but she might as well have been. Her makeup was running. Her hands were shaking. "Aunt Maggie, please," she said. "I'm sorry. I'll pay it back. I swear. Please don't do this." Patterson looked at me. "Ma'am, given the amount and the time frame, this would be felony fraud. Do you want to press charges?" I looked at Amber. At this girl I'd known since she was born, who I'd babysat, who I'd taken to her first day of kindergarten because Karen had to work, who'd called me crying when she didn't get into her first choice college and I'd told her it would be okay, that she was smart and capable and the world was full of possibilities. "Yes," I said. "I want to press charges." Amber made a sound like I'd hit her. "You're really going to do this? You're going to ruin my life?" "You ruined your own life," I said quietly. "I'm just not covering for you anymore." They took her out in handcuffs after all. Chase followed in his car, shouting something about lawyers. The neighbors were watching now, Mrs. Delacroix from next door, the Patels from across the street, the college students who rented the house on the corner. I didn't care. I closed the door and stood in my empty, messy living room and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Relief. The phone started ringing 20 minutes later. Karen, screaming so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. "What the hell is wrong with you? How could you do this to her? She's your niece. She's family. She stole $18,000 from me. She made a mistake. She's young. You're going to ruin her life over money? Over felony fraud. Yes, she was going to pay you back." "With what money, Karen?" "She doesn't have a job. She has 1,200 followers on Instagram. Her influencer career isn't real. You don't understand how hard it is for young people these days. I understand that she committed a crime, and I'm not going to pretend she didn't." Silence. Then quieter, more dangerous. "You know what your problem is, Margaret. You've been alone so long you forgot what it means to have family. You're bitter and you're punishing Amber for being young and making mistakes because you're jealous." I hung up. The phone rang again. I turned it off. At 2 p.m., I drove to the bank. Walked in wearing my good navy cardigan, the one with the pearl buttons. The same one I'd worn to Robert's funeral. The same one I wore to every important occasion, because it made me feel like someone who should be taken seriously. A young woman at a desk greeted me with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "How can I help you today?" "I need to review all of my accounts. All authorizations, all connected cards, everything." Her smile faltered. "Is there a problem?" "I just discovered my niece has been committing fraud using my information. I need to know what else I don't know about." It took 3 hours. We found 2 more credit cards I didn't know existed. A store card at Nordstrom with a $4,000 balance. Another at Best Buy for $2,600. Both activated online. Both with my information. Both shipped to my address. "How did this happen?" I asked. Don't you verify these things? The banker, whose name was Stephanie, looked uncomfortable. If someone has your social security number, your date of birth, your address, the online verification systems are automated. They don't require in-person ID for applications. So anyone in my house could do this. If they had access to your personal information, yes. I closed all of them, froze my credit, set up fraud alerts, changed every password on every account. Stephanie helped me file reports for each card, each one added to the list of charges against Amber. I'm sorry this happened to you, Stephanie said when we were done. She meant it. I could tell. I'm not, I said. And I meant it too. At home, I started going through the house methodically. The guest room first. Amber had left in such a hurry she'd forgotten things. Clothes in the closet, makeup on the dresser, a notebook on the nightstand. I opened the notebook. Inside were pages and pages of plans, content calendars, posting schedules, hashtag strategies, and in the back, a list of expenses with my name next to them. Aunt M card, equipment, $3,400. Aunt M card. Miami outfits, $4,200. Aunt M Nordstrom, MMN. Winter collection, $4,000. She'd been tracking it. She knew exactly what she was stealing. I found my checkbook in her drawer. 3 checks torn out. My signature forged on the stubs. Made out to cash, it said. $2,000 each. I added them to the police report. In the bathroom, I found bottles of skincare that cost more than I spent on groceries in a month. In the closet, shoes still in boxes. In a bag under the bed, jewelry I'd never seen her wear. Some of it still had tags. All of it bought with my money. All of it part of the investment in her brand. I packed everything into boxes, put them in the garage. Evidence, if they needed it. Then I cleaned. Scrubbed the bathroom until it smelled like bleach and lemon. Washed the sheets, vacuumed the carpet, took down the ring lights from the living room and put my furniture back where it belonged. Sent my Persian rug to the cleaners with a note about the beer stain. By evening, the house looked like mine again. Smelled like mine again. Felt like mine again. I made myself dinner. Real dinner, not cereal or toast. Salmon with roasted vegetables and rice. Set the table properly. Poured a glass of wine. Sat down and ate slowly, tasting everything, grateful for the silence. The doorbell rang just as I finished. I almost didn't answer. But when I looked through the peephole, I saw Karen standing there. I opened the door but didn't invite her in. I need to talk to you, she said. Her eyes were red. She'd been crying. Then talk. Amber is in jail. They're holding her overnight. The bail is $50,000. I know. I don't have that kind of money, Margaret. I know that too. So you need to drop the charges. Tell them it was a misunderstanding, that you gave her permission. She's your niece. She's my daughter. You can't just abandon her. I held the doorframe. I'm not abandoning her. I'm holding her accountable. She made a mistake. She made a choice. Multiple choices. Every single day for 4 months, she chose to steal from me. She forged my signature. She used my identity. She turned my home into a movie set without asking. And when I caught her, she didn't apologize. She called me dramatic. Karen's face twisted. You've always been jealous of her, of how pretty she is, how young. You're a bitter old woman who... Stop. I kept my voice level. You can say whatever you want about me. But I'm not going to pretend this didn't happen just to make you feel better about how you raised her. She stepped back like I'd slapped her. I have spent my entire life helping you, I continued. I helped you buy your house. I helped pay for Amber's school. I helped with every crisis, every emergency, every time you called me crying. I never said no, not once. Do you know why? She didn't answer. Because I thought that's what family meant. That's what love meant. Being there, helping, giving, even when it hurt, even when it cost me. I could feel my voice getting stronger. But you know what I learned? I learned that giving without boundaries doesn't create gratitude. It creates entitlement. I learned that help without limits doesn't build character. It destroys it. That's not fair. Amber thought she could steal from me because I've never said no before. She thought she could lie to me because I've always believed her. She thought she could use me because I've always let her. And you know whose fault that is? Karen was crying now. Please, Margaret. She's my baby. She's 28 years old, and she committed a felony. Those are consequences, Karen, not punishments. Consequences. So what am I supposed to do? You're supposed to let her learn from this. You're supposed to stop enabling her. You're supposed to be her mother, not her friend or her ATM or her get-out-of-jail-free card. I started to close the door. Wait, Karen's voice cracked. Are you really not going to help? I looked at my sister, at the person I'd known longer than anyone else in my life, the person I'd shared a bedroom with growing up, who I'd braided flowers into my hair for my wedding, who I'd held when her husband left, who I'd loved unconditionally for 67 years. No, I said, I'm really not. I closed the door, locked it, stood there until I heard her car start and drive away. Then I went to my bedroom, pulled out the small wooden box Robert had made me for our 10th anniversary. Inside were important papers. My will, my insurance policies, Robert's death certificate, the deed to the house. The will was 12 years old, written right after Robert died, when I was drowning in grief and paperwork and just needed something, anything, to be finished and filed away. I'd left everything to Karen and Amber, split evenly, the house, my savings, my retirement accounts, everything I'd worked for, everything Robert and I had built together. I called my lawyer the next morning. Thomas Brennan had handled Robert's estate. He was in his 70s now, semi-retired, but he took my call immediately. Margaret, it's been a long time. How are you? I need to change my will. There was a pause. All right, what kind of changes are we talking about? Complete revision. I want to remove Karen and Amber as beneficiaries. Another pause. Longer this time. That's a significant change. May I ask what brought this on? I told him everything. The fraud, the arrests, the confrontation. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he said quietly, I see. And you're certain about this? Completely. All right then. Let's set up a time to discuss your options. We met the following Tuesday. His office smelled like old books and coffee, photos of his grandchildren on the wall, a law degree from 1,974 inches a frame behind his desk. He pulled out a yellow legal pad. So, who would you like to designate as your beneficiaries? I'd thought about this for 3 days. I want to set up a scholarship fund for first-generation college students who are majoring in education or social work, people who want to help others, not just help themselves. He wrote this down. That's beautiful, Margaret. Anything else? I want to leave my house to Habitat for Humanity. They can sell it and use the money however they see fit. And your personal items? There's a women's shelter on Market Street. They can have my furniture, my clothes, whatever they can use. He looked up at me over his reading glasses. You're not leaving anything to your family? No, they might contest this. Let them try. He smiled, small, approving. All right then, I'll draft something for you to review. 2 weeks later, I signed the new will. Thomas had 2 witnesses come in, people from his office I didn't know. They watched me sign, added their signatures, notarized it, made it official and legal and final. This is a good thing you're doing, Thomas said as I was leaving. A lot of people talk about making changes like this. Very few actually do it. Maybe they should. Maybe they should, he agreed. At home, I made a copy of the will and put it in a manila envelope, wrote Karen's name on the front. Then I drove to her house. She didn't answer when I knocked, but her car was in the driveway and I could see lights on inside. I slipped the envelope through the mail slot and left. She called 3 hours later, screaming, How dare you? How dare you? You spiteful, bitter, horrible. I hung up. She called back. I didn't answer. She called 6 more times. I blocked her number. 2 days later, I got a letter from a lawyer, Karen's lawyer, threatening to sue for mental distress, for defamation, for alienation of affection. Legal words that meant nothing and everything and mostly just meant she was angry. I sent it to Thomas. He called me that evening. "She doesn't have a case," he said. "You're allowed to distribute your estate however you see fit. But she might try anyway. Some people do." "Let her," I said. "It could get ugly." "It already is ugly, Thomas. I'm just not pretending it isn't anymore." The preliminary hearing for Amber's case was scheduled for 6 weeks out. I got a subpoena to testify. The prosecutor, a tired-looking woman named Angela Reeves, called me to prepare. "The defense is going to paint you as vindictive," she said. "They'll say this is a family dispute, that you gave her permission, that you're just mad about something else. Will they win? Not if you tell the truth. We have the statements, the forged signatures, the evidence. But juries don't like family turning on family. You need to be prepared for that." I'm prepared. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Fluorescent lights, worn carpet. Amber sat at a table with a public defender who looked barely older than she was. She'd lost weight. Her hair wasn't perfect anymore. She didn't look at me when I walked in. Chase was in the gallery. So was Karen. They both stared at me like I was a stranger. Maybe I was. I took the stand, put my hand on the Bible, swore to tell the truth. Angela walked me through it. When Amber moved in, when I discovered the charges, what I found in her room, the forged checks, the mounting evidence. "And did you, at any time, give your niece permission to use your credit cards or forge your signature?" "No, never." "Did you give her access to your personal information?" "She lived in my house. I trusted her. I didn't hide my documents because I never thought I needed to." "Thank you. No further questions." The defense attorney stood. Young, eager, slightly nervous. "Miss Chen, you and your niece had a good relationship before this incident, correct?" "I thought we did." "You let her live in your home, rent-free?" "Yes." "You'd given her money before? For college? For a car?" "Yes." "So it's fair to say you were generous with her?" "I helped my family when they needed it." "And isn't it possible that Amber thought this was just another example of you helping? That she'd made a mistake about what was acceptable, but didn't have criminal intent?" I looked at him. Then at Amber. She was staring at her hands. "She tracked every charge in a notebook," I said. "She wrote my name next to each one. She knew she was stealing. She just didn't think I'd stop her." The defense attorney tried a few more angles, tried to make it sound like a misunderstanding, a family squabble. Nothing criminal, but the evidence was too clear. The forged signatures, the hidden purchases, the activation of cards I never requested. The judge ruled probable cause, set a trial date. As I left the courthouse, Karen grabbed my arm in the parking lot. "Are you happy now?" she hissed. "Are you satisfied? You've destroyed your own family." I pulled my arm free. "I didn't destroy anything. I just stopped rebuilding what you kept breaking." She could go to prison. She committed crimes. That's what happens. You could stop this. You could tell them you forgive her, that you don't want to press charges, that this was all a mistake. But it wasn't a mistake. And I don't forgive her. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Karen's face crumpled. "What happened to you? You used to be kind. You used to care about people." "I still care about people," I said quietly. "I just realized I'm one of them too." I drove home, made tea, sat in my living room with a book I'd been meaning to read for months. The house was quiet. The air was clean. The furniture was mine, arranged how I wanted it. No ring lights, no strangers, no chaos. Just me. And that was enough. 3 months later, Amber took a plea deal. 18 months probation, restitution, community service, a felony on her record. Karen sent me an email. Just one line. "I hope you're happy." I didn't respond. But I thought about it for a long time. Was I happy? Not in the way she meant. I wasn't gleeful or vindictive or celebrating anyone's pain, but I was free. I was whole. I was no longer erasing myself to make room for people who didn't value me. And yes, in that way, I was happy. I started volunteering at the women's shelter I designated in my will every Thursday afternoon. Sometimes I just listened. Sometimes I helped with resume writing or job applications. Sometimes I just sat with someone who needed not to be alone. One day, a young woman came in. Maybe 25, scared, broke, running from something she wouldn't name yet. The director asked if I could help her get settled, show her where things were, help her feel safe. I sat with her in the common room, made her tea, told her the rules, the resources, the phone numbers she'd need. "Why are you here?" she asked me. "Why do you volunteer?" I thought about how to answer, thought about Amber and Karen and all the years I'd spent helping people who never learned to help themselves. "Because some people need help to get stronger," I said. "Not help to stay weak." She nodded slowly. "And which one am I?" "I don't know yet. But you're here, asking that question. That's usually a good sign." At home that evening, I found an envelope in my mailbox. No return address. Just my name in handwriting I recognized. Inside was a letter. 2 pages. Handwritten. "Aunt Margaret, I don't know if you'll read this. I don't know if I deserve for you to read this, but I'm writing it anyway. I'm sorry." Not the kind of sorry I said when I got caught. Not the kind of sorry meant to make you forgive me. Just sorry. For stealing from you, for lying, for taking advantage of your kindness and calling it love. I've been in therapy. Court mandated at first, but I kept going. My therapist asked me why I thought it was okay to do what I did. I said I didn't think it was okay. I just didn't think I'd get caught. She asked me why I thought I wouldn't get caught. I said, because you always let things go before, because you always forgave me, because you always helped. She asked me if I knew what I was really saying. I didn't. She said I'd learned that your boundaries didn't matter, that your money didn't matter, that you didn't matter, not because you weren't important, but because you taught me that by never saying no. I was angry at first, blamed you for enabling me, but that's not fair either. I'm 28. I knew what I was doing was wrong. I just didn't care because I'd never had to. I have a job now. Retail. It's not glamorous. I don't make content about it. I just work, and I earn money, and I pay my bills, and my restitution payments to you. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect anything. I just wanted you to know that what you did, pressing charges, cutting me off, it was the kindest thing anyone ever did for me. Even though it didn't feel kind at all. I hope you're doing well. I hope your house feels like yours again. I hope you're not spending your time taking care of people who don't appreciate it. Love, Amber. I read it 3 times, folded it carefully, put it in my desk drawer. I didn't respond. Not yet. Maybe not for a long time. But I kept it. Because sometimes people do change. Sometimes consequences teach what compassion couldn't. Sometimes the hardest love is the truest love. And sometimes, just sometimes, saying no is the greatest gift you can give. I made myself dinner. Chicken and vegetables, nothing fancy. Set the table with cloth napkins because I was worth the effort. Poured a small glass of wine, sat down and ate slowly, tasting everything, grateful for this moment, this meal, this quiet house that was entirely, completely, peacefully mine. Outside, the sun was setting, golden light through the kitchen window, the neighbor's cat crossing the yard, somewhere down the street, children laughing. I raised my glass to the empty room, to myself, to every person who'd ever felt small or invisible or taken for granted. "You are allowed to take up space," I said out loud. "You are allowed to matter. You are allowed to say no." The words hung in the air, true and solid and mine, and for the first time in longer than I could remember, I believed them.